Um, Hello. If you're new to my channel, my name is Julie Kubiak and I'm here to talk business. It is Friday and it's 5 to midday. I thought I'd go live a few minutes earlier. So just waiting to see if anyone is going to join in on this live. Yeah, thanks. I forgot to put it on to Do Not Disturb. There's always something that pops up at the beginning that reminds me. So based on last week when I talked about YouTube for your business and why and how you can get onto YouTube for your business, this week we're going to be talking about something different, business related, of course. And at the moment, it looks like I'm just going to be talking to myself. The numbers last week did jump up at midday, which is why I've gone live a few minutes earlier. So this is just going to give me time, I think, to grab my drink. A cold coming on. I've got my nice Nespresso, my Nespresso macchiato, I believe this one is. It's nice because when you put the milk in, froths the milk, then it drops the espresso shot in and you get a nice kind of like, almost like a setting sun kind of effect on it. So cheers if you got a drink. It's Friday lunchtime. Should all be drinking. So where are you watching from? Comment below, let me know where you're watching from, especially if you're watching this on replay. Comment below and yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you like this video when it gets going, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, if you want to know when I do go live, hit the bell notification, because then it means that it will alert you when my lives are up or when I post any new content. So still waiting for somebody or anybody. I'm going to end up cutting this bit out of my video when it saves it, when YouTube saves it. But yeah, have you all had a good week? It's been a bit of mixed weather here in the UK, but we're all getting ready for schools to go back. So yes, that is always a big milestone in the year. And then, hate to say, it won't be long until Christmas, will it? Sorry. So who's in here? I've got a few people in here now. Drop a comment below. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. Just while I drink my coffee and wait for midday to start. Oh, and I am going to be explaining about these mugs in the background in this one. I'm not going to say really what that's all about until I get going. Hello, I've got 6 of you. 6 of you fools that want to watch me talk about my life and my business, and basically talking to myself. So hello, George Michael lookalikes. If you watched the last video, you'll know exactly what I mean. So welcome everyone to one of my business chats. My name's Julie Kubiak. If we've never met before, thank you and welcome to my channel. My background is in IT and everything business related. I've done my own accounts, books, set up my own websites. I've done IT training where I've been the trainer. I've trained trainers to be trainers as well. And I've worked in IT for a good 25 plus years now. Everything I want to talk about in these lives over these few weeks that I'm going to be going live, if it works out, I'll go live continuously. It's just business stuff. So ask me any questions if you want. I've got a particular theme for each week, more so for in case I kind of get stuck as to what to talk about, or if you lot aren't as that interactive as I'm hoping. So this week, as you can see from the title of it, we're talking intellectual property. It's not as scary as you think. It's actually going to really, there'll be some big, massive key takeaways, hopefully, for everybody in here, even if you know exactly what it is and you think you've got it all nailed. So yeah, so grab yourself a drink. If it's lunchtime, eat your lunch while I'm talking. And let's get into it. It's midday now. So first of all then, intellectual property. I want to start off by saying, if you, well, imagine if you put your heart and soul into something, okay? Be it a product logo, a a method even, and you had somebody steal it. Okay. Do you know how you could protect your work before that happens? Okay. So that's really what we're looking at now, intellectual property. What is it? How you can protect it? I'm going to tell you my shocking story of how Match.com sent me practically a cease and desist, and what I did to kind of fight them off. Spoiler alert, I didn't win. I didn't take it any further because they're one of the big dogs, really. But it's a very heavy story, really, as to why you should do things literally by the book and to the letter. I did all of that, but it's just it's a shocking story anyway. So, do you own your own business? And have you created something and you would be so upset if somebody stole it? That is shocking if they did, but especially if they claim that it's theirs. So drop your questions in the comments about what you think intellectual property is. Do you have any intellectual property? And also let me know where you're watching from, because last week I couldn't see anyone's comments other than just the text. I don't know where you're watching from. So a few people were asking, am I in the UK? Yes, I am. I'm in the Midlands. I'm actually near Coventry. And then I can just get an idea of how far out this video is actually getting, you know, how many people are actually watching it. So just got to check my notes. Sorry, this caffeine hasn't hit me yet. So intellectual property in the UK is what I'm talking about here. I can't talk about any other countries, but in the UK, businesses, they are coming under the UK and Wales, I believe, sorry, England and Wales for UK businesses. Everything in Scotland has got their own rules, and in Northern Ireland, they've got their own rules as well. So can you hoover up a random sock right now? No, hoovering is not one of my favourite things to do. I get my daughter to do that for me. And hello, Football League Adventures, down in Shoreham. I believe that's where you are, down south somewhere. Not very good with geography. So yes, so IP, getting down to it, it is your tangible creations. It is anything from your logo to a blog post. It's anything that adds value to your business. Okay. So, first of all, the Intellectual Property Office, like I say, they deal with England and Wales, and they deal with the intellectual property patents, designs, copyright, and trademarks. Okay. And there are four distinct categories that they deal with. So, UK patents, first of all. So a patent is for a new invention. So say like Dyson, they've had vacuum cleaners out, they've had air conditioning units out. Let's say they come out with a Dyson iron. You watch now, I've said it, that'll be the next thing that they come out with. That is a patent, and they would patent everything to do with the iron. Intellectual property for designs. So that's the visual appearance of things. So imagine if it's like your IKEA furniture, you know, it's a particular design, style, how they build it. That is intellectual property design. Okay. The last two are copyright and trademarks. And they're the ones that most businesses would actually be involved in, or interested in, I should say. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So the copyright is one thing, trademark is something different. But the copyright, if it is your own intellectual property, is anything you own that is tangible that you create. Okay. It's books, it's articles, it could be music, it could be logos, graphics, videos. Okay. And it is automatically yours, and you can say copyright the minute you create it. So there is no registration cost, and all you have to do is put the little C symbol, you know, the one with the circle around it. Check it out in emojis, you'll know exactly the one I'm talking about. So if you type in copyright, it will come up with it. And copyright is yours the minute you've created whatever it is. Okay, even if it's a poem, that's yours. You just have to say that you've copyrighted it, and you have to put your name, business name if you have a business, and the year that you say that you have created it. Okay, trademarks, slightly different. Trademarks are again about branding, so it's logos, it's products, it's sounds even. So think of like the Nike swish kind of tick, and the McDonald's arches. Um, but a trademark, you have to pay for it to be registered. And imagine it as a big, massive database or a big, massive library of all these trademarks. With the trademark registration service, if I can say it, it is basically they log everything. They log it with your business, the name, how unique it is to actually you. So a trademark is like your badge of honor. So even if it's a logo that you've got, or if it's your business name, they can be trademarked. But you have to go through a whole process with the Intellectual Property Office to get your intellectual property trademarked. So overall, it is a big database. It's like a big warehouse of all these trademarks. Getting in is kind of the easy bit, and going through the process is the easy bit. But you have to do some research, and this is where my story comes in, which I'll explain in a minute. But although I thought I'd done my research, I didn't understand the full extent of the Intellectual Property Office. And although they allow you to register property, it's whether or not legally it is allowed. And there's a thin line that I'm going to explain in a minute. So my experience with trademarks all came about from my business, Masquerading. And Masquerading Limited is the bigger company. And then underneath that, I've got masquerading.com, which is a website for cosplayers who are into costume, dressing up, and following in events. Then I have like a sister company called Masquerading Pets. It's for pets, for people that want to dress their pets up in costumes and know about events. Then there's Masquerading Dating, which was a website. So for each of these, I knew I wanted to protect the brand. I'd had logos made. I'd actually gone on to Fiverr for some suggestions. Didn't pay $5 for it, but in the end, it cost a fair amount of money to get a logo created. And then there was not just one logo. I'd got like sort of 3 businesses. Then it became 4 businesses all within the one. And then I wanted to create like an overall logo for the whole business. So each of these I wanted to trademark. But I then had taglines that I wanted to trademark as well. Okay, so I'm just going to check the chat because it is going wild in this chat today. Hello. No, I've answered that about backing up or hoovering up a random sock. No, I can't do it right now. The noise would be too much on this live. Nice to meet you, Dree, sweetheart, as well. No, Andrew, my daughter is a teenager. She's still in bed. She's not going to be backing up while I'm on this live. Yes, Andrew, calm down. Stop the boats. I'm not near any water, so anyway. So my business, my intellectual property. When I had my logos trademarked, I then wanted to trademark the tagline, as they call it. And I've got some mugs up here, which I'm going to grab in a minute, because they each have the logo on it and they have the tagline. So as we said already, copyright, you only need to put the letter C. But if you go through the whole process and you get your trademark approved by the Intellectual Property Office, you get to put the nice little letter R in a circle around it. So you've gone from C kind of at the beginning of the alphabet all the way through to the letter R. Great, you've then got it. But it basically is reinforcing the brand. It's showing that you've got strength. It allows you to put that logo on anything and everything that you want. You can put it on absolutely anything, websites, leaflets, images that you create. But for your intellectual property, it doesn't have to be a logo or a tagline. Your intellectual property could be things like, um, what could it be? Let's create a fictitious company just to give you more ideas. Eco glow makeup kind of company, cosmetics company. They could register the name, they could register the logo that they create. Then it could be down to the, God, my mind's gone blank. The product names, something with Eco Glow in it. They could change the names of maybe their moisturizers. They could change the name of um, their design of the packaging. They could have it in a particular thing that is Eco Glow because it's in recycling boxes. So that could be trademarked as well. So when I am talking trademark, I'm not just talking a logo and a tagline. It's anything and everything. Even your videos you create, you can trademark them. And if you don't want to trademark them and pay for them, you at least need to do copyright. And that is probably what 90% of the people watching this will need to do. Copyright everything that you create, do, touch, imagine, and then put on paper. Because it needs to be tangible. You need to see it and feel it and touch it. So it's words, it's music as well. So that could be your own copyright. So with Masquerading then, I knew that I wanted to trademark all of my things, but my website could be copyright, have the copyright sign on it as well. The different posts that I put onto Instagram, videos on TikTok, reels and stuff on Instagram again, Facebook, short stories, anything, it's mine. And I could copyright it and say it's mine so nobody steals it. Also, as well, if you're looking at copyright versus trademarks, you've got copyright of your adverts, your posts, versus something that you've trademarked, which can be used time and time again, like an overall advert. So it could be that you've paid for a particular singer-songwriter to be in your adverts versus copyright of the actual music that you've got in those adverts. So nobody can then steal because you've trademarked that piece of music within your videos, and you've got the copyright for everything else that goes alongside it that you don't need to pay extra money for. So I hope that's kind of making sense. To me, I'm all over the place with this, but with the intellectual property then, so I wanted to trademark the masquerading dating side of things, and I came up with a tagline. And when the tagline was put through the intellectual property office, they found no problems with it. With the payment side of things, I'll explain how it works. But what they did was I paid extra to run it through a test to make sure that no one else was using this tagline, and everything came back with thumbs up. And I paid the money and I did like the cooling off period. It goes into an old style gazette, as they call it, everything in London to do with law. It's all very old school. I used to work at the Law Society, so I know exactly how this works. So it goes into the Gazette, and people have the chance to actually say, no, they don't want it. I can't think what the term is, but they can dispute it. And nobody disputed my tagline. The minute I had the paperwork from the intellectual property office and they said, yes, it's good to go, there's nothing wrong with your tagline, 10 days later, I had, like I said at the beginning, the equivalent of a cease and desist from Match.com. And they said, no, we want you to revoke that trademark. And I panicked a bit. And it was like a proper official solicitor's letter, which came to my accountants, which was the registered office for the business. And my accountant freaked. My accountant thought this is going to cost a lot of money and dumped my business at the most crucial point in my business at this point, where I needed some legal help and assistance. So I was not happy with them, and straight away I then contacted one of the biggest accountants in Coventry that also has a legal team attached to it. Luckily, I know the owner of the business, And they said, yeah, no problem, let's take this on. And they said, actually, if Match.com want to come for you, let them turn up at the offices. And sorry, you can change trademark to make it your own. You can change any trademark to make it your own. Yeah, there's legality things in it. I'm just about to explain that though. You had a female help you men get it sorted. No, I didn't. I had an intellectual property barrister speak to me about this as and when it was going on, but that's what I'm going to get into next. So Match.com didn't like the fact that I had registered Don't Swipe, Find Your Own Match. I didn't actually come up with it. It was my then partner, and we kind of had a laugh and a joke about it and thought actually it's very clever because on my website it was for people to find their own partners. There was no bots, algorithms, nothing in the background. It was literally find who you want to find to meet up and chat. And it was clever because don't swipe, there was no swipe facility on the website, and the users had to go and find who they wanted to speak to and chat to. So I was surprised because it was a whole phrase. The intellectual property office said, yeah, fine, no problem, here you go, thanks, we'll have your money, and off you go. And like I say, 10 days later, Match.com then contacted me with this letter. So I took advice through the intellectual property office, and I had a 30-minute free consultation with an intellectual property barrister, and he was shocked, and he said, I would actually like to take this further. He said, but in hindsight, and knowing how everything like this works, you're going to be up against the big guys. You're going to be up against the people that have got a hell of a lot of money. He said, and you're a new business, you're a small business, new startup basically in comparison to them. You got no money behind you to take this to court. He said, theoretically, even though they're saying they own the word swipe and the word match, you've got those words in an entire phrase. He said, I can see how we have allowed it. And he says we because he was talking on behalf of the intellectual property office as a barrister. He said, but unfortunately, what they're saying is you're using two of their terms that they have got trademarked and using them in one sentence under the same, what's the term called? Under the same category. So you need to understand how the categories work when you register with the intellectual property office. So your two groupings, categories kind of things are, is it a product or is it a service? And then depending on which one it lies under, get my words out, you've got something like 1 up to 38 are all services, and then 39 onwards to I think it's about 46 are services. That's a product. Okay, so my website, Masquerading Dating, came under a product. Okay, and then the tagline was then under online and dating and social networking and lots of other things. But so were Match.com's words as well. So what they were saying was because these categories matched and the words matched, it should not have been allowed. Hello to the user called TikTok. Shame you aren't really TikTok, but anyway, nice name to have on YouTube. So yeah, so the barrister basically said to me, had I have been a business, like a service rather than a product, and I did actually have it under as a service as well, because it's obviously a dating service. Had I have had those words, and if it had been under different categories that didn't match Match.com's categories for their words that they trademarked, they wouldn't have had any argument against me. But because those categories were exactly the same, that was where the problem lay. Match.com owning swipe and right shouldn't have really been allowed to step up to me and, as they did, demand I revoke that trademark and hand it over to them, but I had no choice. They were the big guys. They were going to take me to court. Had I got the money to argue with them? No. And as this barrister was saying, even if I had, they probably still would have won. But we could have won on technicalities if I'd had the money, because they'd got individual words. And it would be like saying, well, if anybody used any individual words, they then can't use them. And that is really wrong. And the barrister was on my side saying, unfortunately, your hands are tied. There's not a lot you can do. He said, I would love to take this further. He said, I would love it to be that massive story. You know, the little guy starting out a business is up against the big top guys. And because Match.com own, is it Tin? Not Tin, I don't know, I can't think who it is they own, but they own lots of different dating sites. And when I drilled down on it, when this was happening, I don't think it was even down to the phrase and the trademark. I think it was because what I was doing was unique and they hadn't even thought of it. So somebody later on that I was chatting to actually said that to me, and they said they've just realized that you've got a niche area in the market and they're frightened of that. And that's why they've come down on you tough. And they didn't want me to have anything. They didn't want me to have the dating site, the website name, all because of the trademark. Now, we had emails going backwards and forwards from their solicitors to me. I had to do all of this on my own because I didn't have any money for solicitors, but I knew that I wanted to fight for my own intellectual property. I'd paid for it. The intellectual property officer said there was nothing wrong with it. So why should they actually be arguing and wanting to take that off me? And that was really disheartening. But oh my God, I got some energy behind me and I thought, no, you are not having this. So letter after letter, backwards and forwards. And in the end, they came back and said, okay, we'll let you have your website, but we don't want you to have that trademark. You have got to give us that trademark over to us. So I had to fill in the forms to hand Match.com that trademark that I had paid for. I didn't get my money back from them. I didn't get anything, any further assistance or help and support from the intellectual property office, because they'd obviously done their job. They'd checked my phrase hadn't been used, but they weren't looking at individual words. And this is kind of the downfall of this. And this is where you've got to be so careful. So my trademark of don't swipe, find your own match, one phrase, they trademarked the individual words of swipe and match. And I never would have stood a chance, basically. So what I did was I had to come up with a different tagline, a different phrase that I wanted to trademark. And when I came up with it, I panicked and I thought, I don't want to tell anybody. Can I actually use this? And I just thought, I'm not even going to ask the intellectual property office to check this one. I'm just going to run with it. So I chucked all the money that they required for me to actually trademark it. I'll show it you in a minute. But what you have to do is, when you trademark something, is you have to say, first of all, is it a product or is it a service? Then you have to look at, out of all these 46 different categories, which one it falls into. And of the between, I want 46 or 48, whichever one it falls into, it can fall into multiple different areas within that block. But for each one, you have to pay. So I think the first one is something like £270, and then each additional category it falls into is about, I think it's £50. Don't quote me on that. I haven't checked. I know a lot of the prices have gone up since Brexit and since the new government a few years ago, but a lot of things have gone up in price with the business side of things, with the government websites. So I think I trademarked it under 4 different categories. So that's like the £270 one off for just trademarking it under one category. And then each additional one, no matter how many subsections it falls under. And I thought, right, I'm just going to go with it. I don't need anyone to tell me whether or not this has been used. It's so random. And a quick look on different dating platforms, nobody was using any of the words that I've used. So I have got 3 different mugs here. And all of these don't have the letter C on them, but I've got the trademarks for them. And because I do have the trademarks, I should actually have put the letter R on each of these. So first of all, the masquerading one, the trademark I had was be who you want to be. So for masquerading, it's about being in costume and being in character, following events. So it is literally, as it says, you can be who you want to be. What character do you want to be? Do you want to be, Iron Man? Do you want to be Deadpool? But it's about the characterization. It's about chatting in character on the website. And on these mugs, I then had a little noun that I created. I don't need to trademark this, but again, masquerading, I've had that trademarked. So the word masquerading and the fact it comes under social networking and different categories like that. Again, it falls under 4 different categories. So I've just put on here, and again, another trademark, the social fiction community. I don't want anyone to steal that, so I've trademarked that. For those who prefer being in costume, being in character, cosplayers, LARPers, lookalikes, anime fans, historical reenactors, masquerading, it's where you need to be. Hashtag masquerading as. So that is mine. They're my intellectual property assets on a mug. So anything that you have, be it a copyright or trademark, you can put it onto merchandise. Pets, as I've mentioned as well. Again, I trademarked this tagline: they have legs and they can fly. I had a reading, a tarot reading, or angel reading actually it was, with somebody called Natalia Coleman. And she just would randomly come out with different things. And she said, why do I say such random things in your readings? And I was actually working on the website at the time, so it made so much sense to me. So masquerading pets, yeah, again, I've had that trademarked as well. So under the different categories of social networking, connections, communities, forums, things like that. And then the noun here is the social pet working community, where pets can dress up and show off their glamour, whether as a glamour puss, a glamour pup, or hashtag masquerading as human. For furry, feathery, scaly, AI, it's totally animal inclusive. Again, merchandise. My intellectual property is on merchandise. Them. Because I couldn't have don't swipe, find your own match, I came up with this one. Making connections one costume at a time. Yes, that's me, by the way. And again, I had already trademarked masquerading dating. So by having a new trademark, yes, it cost me more money, but nobody has come back and said that I can't have this. And I've had no solicitor's letters, and I've had this trademark for about nearly 3 years now. So with masquerading dating, it's the text here, the noun I created is a unique part of masquerading the social fiction community and masquerading pets. No matter who you're hashtag masquerading as, you can connect with others looking to date within the world of costumes and characters. Intellectual property on merchandise yet again. So when you are looking at your intellectual property, is it something that you'd be frightened if somebody stole or challenged you? Is it yours, or they want it? And that's what you need to be looking at. So all these taglines, logos, and all of those kind of things, what would I do if somebody tried to steal that from me? So what you've got to be looking at is, what have you got that you own that could be copyrighted or trademarked? So don't forget, the trademark is where you have to pay the intellectual property office to register it. They don't fight your case, they don't fight on your side. You can get 30 minutes intellectual property advice from them. And this barrister was so helpful, really helpful. He wanted to cry on my behalf. He's like, I'm just so sorry. He said, you can't do anything but copywriting. So have a think about what you own in your business. Leaflets and flyers, for instance. Anything you put on your leaflet and flyer, you can copyright and say it's yours. my masquerading pets. I haven't, but I could put a letter C on here and copyright it. So I've got little images, it's the text, but it's more for me about, oh my gosh, I've just got a butterfly coming here. It's more about my logo, and I know my logo's trademarked, so I'm not really worried too much. Your blogs and articles, anything that you write or say, so if you're going on a TikTok, Instagram, any lives, anything that you say and the words that you put out there, if you then do one of these sort of speech to text and take out everything that you've said, so I could run this through Descript, for instance, and I could create a blog post from it, that is sharing your experience and your expertise in your industry. That you could copyright because that is yours, and you don't want anyone to take that because they're your words. Your blog posts, social media posts, they are sometimes overlooked. If it is something that is unique, catchy, if it is something that makes you smile and has been shared hundreds or thousands of times, copyright it. No one can stop you copywriting it, unless, of course, you've copied somebody else's content, then they might come at you. But if it's something that you have said, a quote that you've said, why not copyright it? Because then you're saying that it is yours. It's your idea. You have the ideas, and therefore it is your property. Video tutorials, behind the scenes, product demos, all of that you can copyright. Excuse me, ebooks and guides that you create. So if you're somebody who has email marketing behind the scenes and you're one of these people that says, oh, email me, or I can't think what the thing is. It's ManyChat, isn't it? Where if you say, drop a comment below and I'll send you this freebie, copyright that freebie. That's yours. That will stop anybody reproducing it and copying it. All you've got to do is put the C, the copyright symbol, your name or your business name, and the year, and that is yours then, and nobody can steal it from you. So like I say, put the copyright logo onto various different things that you want to save as yours or actually state are yours. But if you feel that it requires a trademark, because okay, you're not going to be McDonald's watching this and you haven't not copyrighted anything, but if you want to take it from copywriting to trademarking, that is when there is the cost implication involved. Now, with the trademarks, you've only got the trademark for 10 years, and they give you a nice certificate and state, when it starts and when it ends. But if you're going to trademark anything, it sounds daft, put a note in the calendar, put a note in your diary, put it somewhere online. So as it's coming up, you don't let it lapse, because there's no point in doing all this research and everything else for somebody to be sitting there at the side thinking, oh, it's coming up for 10 years. I like that. I'm going to have that, because there wouldn't be anything stopping them. If you let your trademark lapse and somebody else gets it, it's theirs, unfortunately. Right, let me just check in the chat. Thank you. Another comment about my teeth. Yes. Yeah, I think that's everything. Right, have I mentioned everything? Comment below if you've got any questions on copyright or trademark. If I can't answer them, I can point you in the right direction. But I have actually worked with the Intellectual Property Office as well. I did some user testing with them because they wanted to know about their processes and their pathway that they've got through their website. And they're making some new additions to how people could upload things and go through different stages quicker and how to move around. So I did some help and support on that for them. So trademarks, another thing I want to mention. If you look at some of the bigger companies, and as a business, you really do need to look at your competitors. How are they doing things and what have they trademarked? Now, the biggest business out there that is one that all trademark people discuss is Disney. Now, if you know your Disney stuff and you like your Disney stuff, what exactly have they trademarked? Is there a reason and is there a pathway here? And it wasn't just sheer inspiration, let's say. This was probably planned out many, many, many years before a lot of these things, their things kind of came into play. So, where's my little note on Disney? Because this could shock you, everything that they've got trademarked. You can actually find this document online if you just look for Disney IP, Disney Intellectual Property Portfolio. So there is, I think it was done in the 1950s. It looks like a mind map when you find it, and it's got the word Disney in the middle, and all these other things, and what can play off and what can be worked with other things. So basically, Disney, you might think, well, okay, films. It was originally cartoons, wasn't it? But then they created the films. So they've got the characters and they've got their stories. And then they turned everything into theme parks, park attractions, merchandise, TV shows, cruise liners, holidays, absolutely everything just off the back of Disney. And it's about taking that one idea and utilizing it, and how can you reuse it. And everything comes back and it reinforces the Disney brand. So if you think that Disney started off and they created a character and it was the cartoon, but then it became the film, they've then got the songs, they've got the actual drawings and the intellectual property of taking the Disney princesses, for instance, the colors of those princesses' dresses, that is a particular theme that goes through. So they own that property. You can buy the costumes as well. So you can dress up your children, or, buy the Disney ears, can't you, with the different colored themes and things like that. They own all of that. That's their intellectual property. The actual Disney ears themselves, you can't recreate them. You can't recreate any of the costumes. And I don't know if you're aware, you can't actually turn up to any of the Disney parks, probably not even the holidays as well, the resorts and stuff like that. You can't turn up in Disney costumes because that is exclusive rights of the, they don't call them actors, what do they call them? The stage crew or whatever they call them. But you're not allowed to, because they own those rights, and you're not allowed to wear their costumes in their parks. And it gets really weird, but it's, how close can you take it to looking like a Disney character in a park without them saying, no, you're not allowed to do that? So this kind of gets into like more of the intellectual property and their rules and regulations on their land, let's say, because they own that land and you have to adhere to their rules and regulations, obviously. So when Disney were putting together everything that they wanted to do, they weren't just looking at, well, let's have a film, let's have a book, let's have a comic book, let's have a colouring in book, let's have some felt tip pens, let's have stickers, let's have ears, let's have bags, let's have t-shirts, jackets, trainers, all of this. They're looking at the actual thing, the thing at the beginning, and it's a character. So that one character creates all of these other things off it. So they have trademarked Disney and that character, so say Belle or Aurora, and then off those, that character has books, stories, songs, films, stage productions, and it just, the idea just goes on and on and on. Badges, keychains, key rings, lanyards, t-shirts, sweatshirts, jumpers, jackets, bags, everything I've already said. But you can see where I'm going with this. So just by having something, if it's copyrighted, obviously that's yours as well. But when it's a bigger business, you have to think of it almost like on the Disney level. What would you be able to take? What would you be able to repurpose? How can that come into play further down the line? Videos is another one. So obviously they have their own videos, films, things like that. But when you're creating a business advert, a business video, even if it's a short, that property is yours. That's your intellectual property. And even down to maybe you've got a little jingle at the beginning, the end, um, the words in it, the icons, the um, text on the screen or whatever. That is how you build your business and your brand. So, what of that is your intellectual property? Well, it's the whole lot. And even if you're not somebody that is online doing online content creation, there are other things that you can look at. So, say if you're just a sole trader, you don't have to be a limited company to register anything. You could be an artist. You don't have to have a business. You could be an artist, and is your business just doing artwork, or you're a consultancy company and it's all the books and the text and maybe the training materials that you do. All of that is your intellectual property as well. So it's not just as cut and dry as saying, I have a logo, I have a tagline, and I've got the domain for the business and I've got the limited company name. No, it isn't. It's everything else that you have created as a business. And when I say business, I'm not just talking like limited company business. I'm saying you as an individual, you could be a architect. It could be that you've come up with an idea for um, a new way of helping disabled people in and out of buildings, and that is your own property as well, because you've designed it and you've created it, or you've come up with an idea for how to sell to other people, and it's so unique, almost like Alex Hormozy. And you want to trademark that, and it's your intellectual property. But to begin with, you copyright it just to make sure while you're going down the trademark process. So there's just so much that you need to think of. So it's your blog post, like I say, it's online courses, training, teaching, and then it's expanding on those. So intellectual property, like I say, my masquerading dating. Yeah. I've taken my intellectual property, my logo, my trademark, everything, put it onto a mug. It's sellable, but it's mine. And everyone knows then, they look at that, it's the red of masquerading dating. It's got my tagline on it. They know it's masquerading dating. If it's black, okay, I can't trademark the color black, but it's part of the logo. It's the black. It's the tagline here. That is masquerading pets. And I know then when somebody is holding the green one, that green is my masquerading green. It's got my um, logo tagline on it even here. It's got the logo. It's just everything, so people know it's a whole business, it's a brand, and all of that together becomes your own intellectual property. So some of the other questions in here I can't answer because they're not even really questions, but hello to everyone that's joining me. I'm going to wrap it up here because I don't want to bore you with everything else to do with intellectual property other than copyright everything. Copyright your blog posts, copyright your emails that you send out to people, your leaflets, your, what do they call them? Uh, your, your hook lines, if you've got one. And just treat everything with the one phrase in your mind. What would I do if somebody stole this and said it was theirs? Okay, can you afford to lose it? Chances are the answer is going to be no, because if you've put your time and effort into it, you won't want anyone to take it from you. It's yours. So treat it like your baby, nurture it, give it life, put some money behind it if you can to take it to that trademark level, and then utilize it in every single way possible. So don't forget, if you like these videos, if you like these lives, subscribe, hit the bell notification to know when I'm going live again next week. From my notes, I think next week I'm going to be talking about not intellectual property, but AI. So artificial intelligence, another two letters thing. But next week, artificial intelligence and how YouTube are using it at the moment in their apps and things, how you can use it, and safety's concerns, things like that. Any other questions, obviously, that pop up during that session. If you want any of my resources, So what kit I use to go live, any of my things that what's the term? Software that I use. Sorry, I've got a cold coffee here. I haven't been drinking during my live. Yes, any of the software that I use for going live or for doing my podcasts, everything. Check out my website, juliekubiak.com. It's my name, it's link in bio kind of stuff. You'll find it on the YouTube. And like I say, next week I'm going to be talking about AI and really how it can allow you to boost your business and some of the good ways that I've actually been using AI at the moment. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on my live. Have a great week and see you all next week about midday if you can make it. If not, stick a follow-up kind of thing if you're watching this after it's gone live, and just put replay, and then I'll know where you are all from and when you are watching this. So catch you all soon.